friends and family, this is Erica. Welcome to my channel. For today, I look forward to sharing with you these gorgeous projects for this winter season. For today, we'll be making this beautiful Cuddle leather sign using supplies from Dollar Tree and the Dollar General, and then also this beautiful solid wood sled we'll be making over. It came from a local thrift store. All supplies will be listed in the description box below. Now our first project couldn't be any sweeter, so let's dive in. All you'll need are these 2 stockings from Dollar Tree. I got the red and black check vinyl at, I believe, Michael's, but it's a sheet of vinyl, which is like one big sticker. And then I'm using Plaster by Waverly and Antique Wax by Waverly. I got the gather sign from Dollar General in the clearance section for $3.50. You'll also need scissors and a ruler and a pen. And I created the words Cuddle leather on my Cricut. But if you don't have a cutting machine, feel free to use either stickers or you can hand paint the words yourself onto the little sign. Depending on what colors you choose and what paint you choose, you can really make this sign to fit any type of decor. First, we're going to start by coating the entire sign front and back with the Waverly paint and plaster. Now, I'm not going to cover the entire front and back. What I'm doing here is covering the entire back as well as the stand that it's on. And you'll see later on in the project why it's important to have all of these parts done so that it looks complete on every side. We're going to go ahead and keep on painting with this plaster paint. I like it a lot because it's definitely more of a white color, but there's a slight gray tint to it, so it really kind of warms it up a little. Now I'm taking the Antique Wax by Waverly and I'm going through on these inside areas because you're going to see the inside strips of, well, it's supposed to look like wood, but the MDF board there. So don't worry if it looks a little messy, but with the Antique Wax, I like to put it on and then just wait a few moments and take a towel and just take off the excess. It really gives it a nice stained wood look instead of looking like a solid brown piece. Next, I'm taking care to paint the base, and I don't want to get it on the entire back of the sign. I want that to remain white, so I'm just being careful around the edges not to get it on the back of the sign. Moving on to the base of the sign, I'm going to keep the brush strokes going in the same motion so that it looks more like a wood grain, which is the same thing that I did up above on the stick. I'm just touching it up a little bit there. I'll continue to go around the base, keeping my brush strokes in the same motion. So now on this one, I'm just going around in a circle, and I'll do the same with the bottom. Next, I'm going to measure to see how much of the background that I need to cut. Now my sign, the interior is 7 inches by 7 inches. So I'm just cutting a 7 by 7 square. I'm going to measure it out with my ruler. I'm not going to trust the little marks in the back of the paper. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it is as perfect of a square that I can get. By the way, if you happen to hear any loud snoring in the background, that is an 80-pound puppy who is snoring away as she's listening to me do this recording. So after I got my square cut, I went ahead and placed it inside of the sign. And like I said, it was a piece of vinyl, so it was all ready to stick and I didn't have to use any glue or Mod Podge, which was great. Makes it a lot easier. Next, I'm going to take the words that I cut out on my Cricut, which says Cuddle Weather. I'm going to carefully pull off that backing there and then apply my word to the sign. Carefully peel back your transfer paper, understanding that that red and black is also a vinyl, and so you want to make sure that your words stay down and that you're not pulling up on the red and black vinyl, and that's the result. Next, we're going to take our stockings, and if I had a seam ripper, this would be a lot probably better or easier, but I'm going to kind of use my hands here, use my scissors to kind of get it started on the threads, and then try to give it a tug again. They're not very hard to break apart. And then once I took the fur off of 2 stockings, I cut them in half long ways so that I ended up with 4 even strips of the fur. We're going to take those strips and go ahead and glue them to our sign. Put a layer of glue on the front, 1 across the top, and then you'll see that I put 1 across the back to keep all the straight edges down and in place. How sweet is that? Now we're just going to move on to do the other 4 sides the exact same way. You'll see that I had to trim a little bit off because it was just a little bit too much overlay over the front of my sign. So if you find that maybe you did like I did and glued it a little bit crooked perhaps, that there's a little bit extra overhang, you can just remove that with a small pair of scissors. We're almost there. The sign is looking so sweet. I love how this sign looks. Go ahead and glue that into the bottom, making sure that it's going to stay adhered. And friends, this is the result. This adorable Cuddle Weather sign looks like that it's on a wood stand, even though it's not, it's just MDF. But it looks so high-end. This sign is so adorable. In the description box below, make sure you tell me what you think. Have you ever used faux fur in this way? Or is this something new to you? Would you make a sign like this? You could really do it with any type of winter sign, I feel. Next, we are going to make over this little sled that I got at the Goodwill. I paid full price, which was $2.99. I thought it was adorable. I could see that it was solid wood. I even liked that it had moving parts to it. I don't really care for the snowman on the front. Honestly, it looks like he has a tummy ache to me, but someone took a lot of time and work and painted that, and at one point it was very, in style, and I'm sure that someone enjoyed this for many years. So as you can see, we're going to, in our makeover process, first I'm just showing you the measurements here so that you can get a good idea of the size of the sled that I'm working with. It's about 11 inches by 8 inches. So the first thing that I did is I took the sled out to the studio, which is where the garage used to be, and I sanded it down using a power sander. Now let me say that I've never used a power sander before. I had my boyfriend that taught me how, showed me what to do, and away I went. Honestly, it was so easy. I don't see why I would go back to using just a hand, sandpaper unless it was just a very small project. But it was really fun to use, actually, and I was able to sand all of the original paint off of the sled and just get down to the wood. So here I am using my Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm giving this a pretty good coat because I want it to be a deep, rich brown. And also, what I do is after I put a coat on, after it's been a few minutes, I take a towel like you would with a stain and I wipe it off. That way it really gives me more of a transparent wax that's, I wouldn't say transparent, it just lets the wood grain show through more, and it just gives it a really nice color. Now, as you can see on the top right corner of the sled, well, looking at it this way anyway, is that one spot where the paint or the stain did not take very well. I think they must have used some type of wood filler or something right there, because I couldn't really change it. The more I sanded it down, it just wouldn't change that texture or that color there. So what I'm doing is I'm just going in with a bit more of the antique wax, and I'm just putting it on there so that it can stay on there and dry a little bit longer, and we'll just get back to that later. So I'm going to flip the sled over, do the same thing, give it a good coat on all the bottom, the insides, the outsides. I want the sled to look great from any angle. Next, I'm going to take the top part of the sled, which I had unscrewed, and I'm just giving that a good coat on all sides. I'm going to let it dry a little bit, then I'm going to flip it over, and with the magic of video, it happens so instantly. I'm going to flip it over and paint the other side as soon as that one is dry enough. And there we go. Ta-da! Now we're just wiping everything down one final time. I like to give it a good wipe over. I just want to make sure that there's no excess wax, there's no excess, that's going to get on any of my furniture or anything. And I just want to make sure that it's all dry so that it's ready to be handled. Now that I've put that top piece back on, I'm just going to go ahead and use the same rope. I did not change out the rope. I like that the rope looked a little worn. I like that it looked a little old. I'm just trying to put the same knots back in it. Later on, I go back in and I do cut those frayed edges just a bit, but I wanted it to look old and like it had been already used for a while. Now I'm just taking these little screw cover buttons. I guess, I don't know what they're called. I'm putting some hot glue and putting those back in where they came from. Now there's still that spot there. It was still bugging me. It didn't absorb the stain. So I decided to just put a little decor piece, which is just an ornament from the Dollar Tree. I thought it looked so cute with the sled, gave it a little character, and there we go. This is the result of our little wooden sled. In the comments below, let me know which one of today's DIYs is your favorite. I really like them both. I guess I'm partial to maybe to the sled because of the fact that it's an older piece and that it's solid wood, and I just think it has a lot of character. The kids love it, but I also really like that Cuddle weather sign. I love that it looks a little different, and I love the fur accents, and I love the fact that we were able to make it look like a wood base when it's just an MDF $3 sign from Dollar General. I hope you've enjoyed DIYing with me today. Please let me know that you like these projects or that you like me by supporting me with a thumbs up. Each and every like you give helps to support me and my channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell to set your notifications so that you'll be notified each time I upload a new video. Thanks for your support, friends and family. You mean the world to me.